What was this spirituality?
In the second part of the 14th century, mystics had begun to call for the experience of the immediacy of God in their daily life. This found a great echo among the lay people. A new spirituality emerged, beginning in Holland and championed by Gerard Deventer, to be known as the Devotio Moderna. The disciples of Deventer got together and assumed in their spirituality a middle position between the laity and the clergy. They were known as the Brothers of Common Life. A decisive withdrawal from the world, a quiet life, following the humility and example of the earthly Jesus, and obligation to holiness in active and daily life belonged to their most pronounced aims. The climax of this Devotio Moderna and the spirituality which it spread in the 15th century and the springing up of many brotherhoods were all features of this lay spirituality. Thomas Kempis, who we all know, came from one of these brotherhoods, and his book, The Imitation of Christ, remained for many centuries the classic of popular spirituality in the Middle Ages. In its main content, the spirituality concentrated on God and the soul. The world was the meeting place of thousands of hidden temptations which should be avoided. Yes, everything that they had to do dealt with temptations they had to avoid. God was then brought near to watch over and punish those who deviated from his law, as well as rewarded the just. So God was called upon to punish or to reward those who did not go away from his laws. The earthly Jesus was an example of humility. This was the spiritual heritage of the Brothers of Common Life, and who were the teachers of Luther at the Cathedral School in Magdeburg. From 1498 to 1501, Luther continued his education in Eisenach, where he was greatly influenced by the Franciscans. In 1501, he began studies in Erfurt, and he related very well with the mental situation of Europe, the spiritual heritage of Europe as a whole. Italy, Paris, there were different tendencies and variations of this Devotio Moderna which I just spoke about. In 1502, he obtained his Bachelor of Arts, 1505, his Masters of Arts, and began studies in law at the wish of his father. Very soon, in the early years of 1505, Martin visited home, and on his way back to the university, Luther was struck by lightning on the 2nd of July, 1505, near Tottenham. And Luther saw himself near to death, and so he prayed, making a vow to St. Anne. "Help me," he said, "St. Anne, and if I will survive, I promise you that I will become a monk." Luther was saved, and against the will of his father and the advice of his friends, he entered the Augustinian monastery on the 17th of July, 1505. The problem in the monastery was finding personal salvation through my own merits. Where do I find a merciful God?